Great to have you with us for another edition of the USF Football Radio Show. We are back from Utah and getting ready to go out again as the Bulls will be in Dallas this weekend to play SMU. Coach Jeff Scott joins us as always. Joey Johnston in for Sam Barrington for today's show. Coach, quite a night in Utah. Certainly a tale of two halves once again. That second half, kind of similar to the game against Florida. Some things that you really see developing and some things to really make you feel good. But a rough start prior to that, and it was kind of a tough hole to climb out of for the Bulls.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very similar to our game with Florida. Came out and got out executed there in the first half and dug ourselves in a hole. It was one of those games. That's frustrating. Come back and watching it on Sunday whenever you get back because we definitely had some good opportunities early, and then just had some limited possessions there in the second half. But again with the schedule these guys have played and the adversity that they faced, I think it was probably midnight when we took the field, our body's time there to go out there at halftime after halftime and. To see the way our guys continue to compete, that's just a really good sign to me of where we are headed into conference play and something we definitely will continue to build off of.
Coach, those of us who were raised in Southern football maybe weren't aware how loud BYU is, what an atmosphere they have. You guys went out there and actually had no false start penalties, and you had a true freshman quarterback that played under control. Just speak about the composure you guys showed.
Yeah, that was another bright spot in that game. It showed up on video. We kind of talked about it last week a little bit, just watching the other teams that played in there. The camera was shaking, and the number of false starts that some of the other teams, Utah and Arizona State, had in there. So we made a really big deal about it throughout the week, and we pumped up the speaker and the noise and had to change our cadence with how the quarterback was asking for the ball. And, I give a lot of credit to, obviously, to Timmy, being a true freshman, first road start, an extremely loud environment, and then also to that offensive line and tight ends to be able to communicate. And, I'll forever remember, I'm hoping Timmy will have a nice, long, successful career here at South Florida, but I'll forever remember that last play right down there, 4th and 1 in their student section, after 18 plays, and to be able to go down there and execute and get us into the end zone. That definitely was a bright spot, and I don't think we'll play anywhere this year that'll be that loud. And I give them a lot of credit. And when they started, their students were in the seats 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game. It sounded like a concert for 2 straight hours while we were in the locker room, and it was definitely as loud as advertised. One of the loudest environments that I've ever coached in, and I've been in a bunch of them.
In that first half, the offense did move the ball, especially in the second quarter. A couple of really good drives. But you had to settle for 3, and that seemed like a key moment in that first half as BYU built their lead. When you get down with a short field like that, I would imagine the depth of the plays probably gets a little smaller, different things you can do. What's the issue when those drives kind of stall out a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's typically 1 or 2 guys kind of making the wrong decision. There was a couple times that Timmy, again, being in his first start, we're asking him to do a lot of things within this offense as far as making reads. And there was one play where OD was coming across that he made the wrong read. If he hands the ball off to OD, we think OD may score there on a little sweep there to the field. And so, again, it's just things learning in those situations. We also had a couple times where wide receiver didn't get the signal on a key play. And, in those type of games against that type of team, the margin for error is very, very small. And so, those are the things coming back and watching it on tape that, we just have to find a way to eliminate that. We've got a lot of different guys playing. I think now after 4 games, we're going to be able to kind of settle in with our guys moving forward with kind of the first and second group. But ultimately, it's painful offensively and defensively to go back and watch the first half and the opportunities that were there that ultimately could have been the difference of the game.
So late in the game when you closed to 35-27, you chose to do the onside kick with 5 minutes to go, then weren't able to get the ball back. What went into the decision to make the onside kick? And I know it relates to timeouts. And a second part of that question, how can you do a better job of conserving those timeouts for the end of the game with your current players?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 2 things. Number one, on the timeouts, we didn't have any false starts, but we had to use our timeouts up on offense. And and I knew that was going to be the case. I told our team throughout the week that special teams had to get lined up because we're not going to use timeouts on special teams. We're going to try not to use timeouts on defense. But with a freshman quarterback out there, and we're kind of playing a cat and mouse game, watching the personnel their defense is putting in. So we're signaling the call a little bit late, and then you can kind of tell looking at your freshman quarterback when it's not registering, and so we had to use some timeouts there. But ultimately, you have to make a decision where we were defensively. I didn't. I believed our best chance to win the game was to get an onside kick. I felt like we had momentum because we had that ball, whatever it was, for about 9 minutes, and their defense was tired. And if we had a chance to go win the game, would be to get the ball back and keep their defense back out there. And then also, we did not execute it, but we had been working on that onside kick and kind of the formation that we had for a long time, and we felt like we had an advantage. And ultimately, I didn't want to kick off to them with no timeouts. With the offense they had, they really executed very well all night. We weren't tackling well. And so I said, hey, we're going to be aggressive and try to go get the ball and win the game. And unfortunately, we didn't execute the onside kick.
Maybe the position group of the night, the offensive line, no sacks, and part of that obviously is Timmy's mobility, but still no sacks. And you opened up the running game. I mean, you ran the ball effectively against a very good run defense.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now is taking our first 4 games, right, of our non-conference play and really evaluating everything we're doing in each position group and where we need to improve as we get ready for conference play. And probably one of the biggest things coming out of these first 4 games has just been the consistency of that group up front, offensive line. I mean, those guys take a lot of pride in their work. Those were some big guys over there at BYU. That defensive line was a physical group. They had some good speed and quickness. They had made a bunch of plays in the first 3 games versus some very quality opponents. And I felt, you talk about a 19-play drive right there in the fourth quarter, on the road, whatever it was, 4,000-foot elevation and all that type of stuff. That group had to grit it out all the way through there. And, I'm really proud of that group, and hopefully we can get some of the other position groups to continue to improve and step up and be able to reach our full potential as an offense.
Dustin Hall stepped right in on the right side. You made that change. He was there really the balance of the game.
Yeah, Dustin is probably one of our most physical offensive linemen. He's been a guy that we really liked last year. He was really improving. And then, again, I think he might have missed all of spring practice with an injury and missed a little bit time early in fall camp. But we saw him come in and do some nice things against FAMU and wanted to give him an opportunity to go out there with the first group. And I really thought his strength and ability to get some knockback on some double teams really helped us.
One player we hadn't seen much of but had a great game, DeMarcus Gregory, your wide receiver, transfer from Ole Miss. What do you see from him moving forward, and how pleased were you with how he did?
Yeah, he's a guy that we have a lot of high expectations for. He had a really good fall camp and just kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. And sometimes as a wide out, you may run a good route and the ball's not there on time, or it's not a good throw, and then sometimes the throw's there and the wide out maybe doesn't get his depth. So it was kind of a little bit of that for the first couple games. And obviously we were trying to get Weaver in there and really, kind of get the timing down with Weaver. But DeMarcus had a great week of practice, and, we trusted him in some of those key situations. I mean, there was a couple times where Weaver was supposed to be the guy in there, and because they were keying on Weaver so much, I made the decision in the huddle after a timeout to, put DeMarcus in there and give him an opportunity to go make the play, and he did that. So I think, that's going to be really good for us as we move forward because we can't just throw it to Weaver every time. We've got to be able to develop some of the other guys as well to make that defense really have to cover the entire field.
And another blocked kick in this game, and this was a big one. It kept it at a 2-score game, and it was actually the play that led to that 19-play, 94-yard drive, Blake Green.
Yeah, that was great. We've been really close. I know we blocked one last year, and again, Daniel DePrada does an excellent job with our special teams, and those guys take a lot of pride in the field goal block. And I've told the guys we're going to win a game because of it, and it's only a matter of time that we're going to block one, and it's going to bounce the right way, and we're going to pick it up and take it back for a touchdown. And to have a block punt in last week's game 2 weeks ago, and then to have the block kick this week, I mean those are signs that we have some good things coming, and hey, every time we go out there with special teams, there's points on the line, And those could have been critical. If we would have got the onside kick and went down there and scored and got the 2-point conversion, then all of a sudden we're in overtime, and that block kick was the difference of the game. So I was definitely pleased with that, and it allowed us, even though we struggled definitely in the first half defensively, but to be able to come out in the second half, only give up 7 points and really give up no points the last 20 minutes of the game, versus a very good offense, that's definitely, a silver lining and a difficult day.
Two guys, one guy that didn't play at all, Darian Felix, and T.J. Robinson, your cornerback, got hurt in the second half. What's their prognosis moving forward now for SMU?
Yeah, yeah. Darian was out all week, and then we don't quite know his availability for this week yet. He's still got some tests and some things he's got to go through, and same thing with TJ. He's kind of going through our protocol and was not able to practice today, and we'll see how he progresses throughout the week and know a lot more about him on Thursday.
Bulls and SMU, that'll be an afternoon game in Dallas, then the open week after that. Stay with us. We'll preview that game, give you more information on the Bulls when we return on the USF Football Radio Show. Welcome back. We're on the road in Dallas this weekend at SMU. SMU is 4-0. Going to be a tough one for the Bulls, but a great opportunity in conference play, and we'll talk about that as the hour continues. Now we are through the non-conference schedule, 4 games behind the Bulls, and you've talked a lot, Coach, about using this as a time of evaluation to kind of see what you have, what the best moves are going forward. Give us the summary, if you would, of this non-conference schedule now. What's pleased you, what's displeased you, the surprises, and where you think this team is after 4 games?
Well, we definitely knew, looking at the schedule, before the season, that it was going to be difficult. And I just told the players, this morning, obviously we're not happy with our record, but we also need to keep some perspective. I believe we're the only team that's played 3 teams that are currently ranked in the top 25. So we played the most difficult 4-game schedule of any team in the country, coming off a season where we won 1 game. So, that's as much adversity as you possibly can have. But, as a coach, what I'll look at big picture-wise is going through that difficult stretch that we have. Are we coming out better, or did we get worse, right? That's really what you're looking for as a coach. We got a ton of stuff to clean up and a ton of stuff to improve on. But I feel like we're coming out of a very difficult schedule better than when we started. So, for that, I'm encouraged. But, looking at the biggest thing, I would say the most consistent side of the ball that we've had, or phase, has been special teams. I'm really pleased with our special teams. We're perfect so far on the year on field goal and extra point. So that's key. As we get in conference play, that's going to be the difference in winning and losing games. So I want to keep that up. And then also, I thought we've been punting the ball well. We've been protecting the punter against some very challenging looks and athletic teams with really good speed on punt block. And so far we've done a good job. I think we're top 15 in the country in punt returns. So I've been pleased with that. Kickoff coverage, I thought, has done a nice job. Kickoff returns, an area that we still haven't quite had the success that I think we're capable of, that we need to continue to work. And then obviously we talked about or field goal block, being able to get some. So I'm really pleased where we are, the consistency with our special teams. Offensively, I felt like we've gotten better and better. Obviously, we've been trying to work through the quarterback situation, and really pleased that Timmy has really stepped out there and kind of earned that spot moving forward. And the play of Jaren Mangham at running back really kind of solidifying himself as our starter at running back, and the guys behind him that have very important roles. The consistency of our offensive line, I think we're one of in the top quarter of the country maybe, and least sacks given up and least tackles for loss. So I think we've done a good job there. But I think that we can improve. I think our potential throwing the ball is a lot higher than where we are. And I think now that we kind of have our quarterback situation figured out, I think we're going to see that continue to improve. And then, defensively, it's kind of been feast or famine. There's been some times, we actually outrushed BYU. That doesn't happen a whole lot. But it's just the missed tackles. We had 17 missed tackles by 8 different players. They had 2 4th and goals last week, 4th and goal at the 1, and we had 3 chances on those 2 plays to tackle the guy for a loss, and we missed all 3 tackles. So we as coaches have to go back and look at what we're doing in practice, and we've got to improve fundamentally tackling. and then just the one-play touchdowns, the big throws over the top. And, part of that comes when you're not tackling well and you're not stopping the run, and you commit more guys to the run, then they run right by you, and you have no safety help. So we got to do a better job of kind of figuring out what the best schemes are defensively for the personnel that we currently have, and then we got to improve in what we're doing. But overall, as a team, I really have seen some progress. And I mean, we could have played other teams, and we could potentially be 3-1, and we would be the same team. The only thing different would be maybe the mindset and the attitude kind of going into the rest of the season. So as a coach, we really got to have that mindset that we're starting a new season in conference play. We're 0-0. We're going this week to try to be 1-0 as we start conference play against SMU.
So when you look at the American Athletic Conference, most people figured Cincinnati would be the team to beat, and that looks pretty accurate. They're number 7 in the country. They play at Notre Dame this weekend. SMU's 4-0, and they're coming off a huge win over TCU, the battle for the Iron Skillet. They played very well. How do you see TCU shaking up in this whole thing, big picture?
Yeah, SMU has got number 5 total offense in the country. So top 5 in the country. They're averaging, close to 550 yards a game. I think they're throwing it for about 320 a game and running it for about 225. So it's going to be a big challenge. Coach Dykes has done a great job. You look at this, I think this is his 5th year, and I kept up with the program a good bit when Chad Morris was there, and they were kind of in a similar situation that we're in now, about 5 or 6 years ago. And Coach Dykes has done a good job. I think they've signed maybe 85 transfers in the last 4 years. So really just kind of turning over the roster and continuing to develop the guys that they have. And, I mean, they're doing an excellent job. And I think this will be the most talented offense that we've played to this point after watching them on video. Their quarterback's leading the country in touchdown passes. And it'll be a big-time challenge for us. And, the biggest thing I'm telling our guys is, hey, it's all about us. It's about our execution. We faced some really good teams, and we've had opportunities. If we would have played better in the first half against Florida, better on the road against BYU, we're right there in those games. And so at the end of the day, it's a great challenge. It's a great opportunity, but it's going to come down to how we play, how we tackle, how we execute on offense, and get those touchdowns rather than field goals.
How difficult is the situation in the defensive secondary? You got some good news when LaPointe was able to go in last weekend's game, but then you lose TJ, and we saw some youngsters like Herring and Green get a little bit of time back there. This is a challenging opponent for a secondary that's probably not exactly where you want it to be personnel-wise.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and you hate it because we brought in Christian Williams to help us with depth at corner. We brought in Will Jones, who was going to be the starter at one of the safety positions. And really, we were talking before the season that we thought our depth in the secondary was going to be one of our strengths, and all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 injuries, and you're right back to kind of where you started. And so it is difficult, and the hard thing is when you're thin, then it affects how you practice because those guys are getting a lot of reps. And there's just right now there's a huge drop-off. I think behind Herring, I think we have Josh Green, who came in as a walk-on. And so that's literally just kind of where we are. And so it's our job as coaches to go out and put the guys in the best situation that we can. I know those guys have a lot of pride. They've been really close. And, BYU, that quarterback, made beautiful throws. You can go watch other games earlier during the day, and the quarterback doesn't make the throw. And these guys, they put it right on the money. So they executed, they made the play, and we got to be in better position not to give up those big scores. Because I think we've shown that if we make them drive the length of the field, that we have an opportunity to get a stop, just like the blocked field goal, and just like we had 2 4th and goals at the one that we talked about, that we have a chance to tackle them in the backfield. And so that's really what I want to see. And we got to figure out some things schematically too, that we've got to really protect those corners a little bit with us being as thin as we are.
So Jaren Mangum, who's going to be our guest later in this show, has 7 rushing touchdowns. He's 5th in the country. Been a real bright spot moving forward. Talk about his progression through this season and what you expect from him the rest of the way.
Yeah, he has been a bright spot, and I think, just like we were talking about over the first 4 games, being able to see Timmy McLean kind of separate himself and seeing Jaren separate himself. And, you love it as a coach when it happens during games. It's one thing in practice. Coaches, we like to kind of move guys around and think guys are going to be here or there, but at the end of the day, it's about production on game day. And Jaren has earned that. I mean, I think he might have started off as our 4th back going into the first game, just from being here, new guy coming in and kind of have a wait his opportunity. But really pleased. I think, again, you go back to that game last week and us being able to have some of those long drives and finish it there on 4th and 1. I think he gives us that bigger back that can, you're not always going to block them all, right? Ultimately, the defense is going to have one extra guy, and sometimes down there you got to be able to run the guy over. And I think Jaren is the guy that, we haven't had probably the last year and a half. We've had some more speed guys, but to really be able to knock guys back and get those dirty yards that are key on 3rd down. I think you look at our 3rd and 4th down success this past game, a big part of it came with either Jaren or Timmy's legs, and so those are 2 young guys that I think that we'll be able to really count on here moving forward.
We thought we were going to see Rashawn Yates in the offensive backfield for a minute there.
Yeah, we were close. We definitely have a play that he's in there, but the way we drove the ball down there, I didn't want to try to trick anybody. I said, you know what, we're running the ball well. We're going to finish this off the traditional way, and we're going to go right at them. And so stay tuned. There'll be another time for that, and he'll be ready. We've been practicing some stuff, but I just felt that's why I wanted to call that timeout. We worked it all the way down. We're going to finish this thing the right way and not try to trick anybody.
One other interesting aspect to this game, especially for longtime USF fans, Jim Leavitt's the defensive coordinator of SMU. What kind of relationship do you have with Coach? And we're talking about the 25th anniversary of this program. What kind of respect do you have for what he did here back in the day?
Yeah, I've always had a lot of respect for Coach Leavitt, even before I got here to South Florida. And probably one of my interests in this job was watching him, years ago whenever he was building this program. And I can remember being a young graduate assistant in 2008. And, my dad had taught me that you write notes to the head coaches at places you'd like to go. And I actually wrote Coach Leavitt a note back in early of 2008 when I was a GA at Clemson. And he wrote me back. He was one of the few head coaches that wrote me back. And that really meant a lot to me. And, and I've watched his career. He's a great defensive mind. And really, since he left here, he's done a really good job at several different places. And he's doing a good job with this group at SMU. I thought we were going to have an opportunity to play him last year at FAU, and that game got canceled. But I've talked to our players a lot about Coach Leavitt because during fall camp we really took a lot of time to talk about the history of the program, and he was a big part of really building that here. And so I definitely look forward to getting a chance maybe to visit with him a little bit before the game, and it'll be fun to have the opportunity to go against he and his defense.
2 weeks in a row on the road, and then you have the open week. I know the following week is the last thing on your mind now, but seems like this is a fairly well-timed open week because this has been a lot of football in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it has, and kind of my message to our guys right now is, hey, exhaust the tank. Do everything this week. Let's put everything into this game, and I want to see us sprint kind of through this first half of the season here, and it has. It's been challenging each and every week, and I'll give the guys credit. They show up each week and go to work. We haven't. Maybe last year we had to deal with some attitude and behavioral issues, culture issues. We've had none of those. I mean, these guys have really done a good job of showing up each day and going to work and against a very difficult schedule. So I expect nothing other than that this week. Seeing our guys go out and have a great week of practice, and then let's try to go out and play our very best on Saturday.
I know you don't believe in moral victories, but last week was a step forward. It was progress. How do you balance that with, obviously, you want to get wins, but you saw some good things overall?
Yeah, I think you just be honest with the guys. I mean, they're, 19, 20, 21. You can't trick these guys. And so, yes, let's go ahead and address the obvious, right? We wanted to win the game. We didn't, right? But let's also, not throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Well, we played 3 very challenging teams, and we could have played 3 other teams and could have been maybe 3-1 coming out of this, and we would have still been the same team. The only thing that may be different is the psyche, and so that's really what I'm challenging the guys is, hey, don't allow any negative things that have happened the first 3 games to cause you to slow down or doubt or lose confidence. Really, if anything, we should gain confidence because we have played the most difficult schedule in the country up to this point, and we've been able to finish strong there in the second half of that game. And ultimately, our season's not going to be defined by the first 4 games. It's probably going to be defined by these next 8 games. right? And so letting the guys understand that and know, hey, it's a long season, and we need to attack each and every week like it's a new week, and then we'll get to the end of the year, and then we'll be able to look back and see what we did.
Coach, thanks. We'll see you in Dallas.
Great. Thank you.
Head coach of the Bulls, Jeff Scott. Bulls and SMU this weekend. Afternoon game on Saturday. Stay with us. Much more to come. We're back after this time out on the USF Football Radio Show. The USF Football Radio Show, we have an open week coming up, so no show next week. We're back in 2 weeks for the Bulls versus Tulsa at home in Raymond James Stadium. Before that, it's USF and SMU in Dallas. Looking forward to that one. And Bulls running back coach Cam Aikens joins us. Coach Cam, thank you for being with us.
Oh, happy to be with you guys.
Our first visit together, you're just kind of getting started here, and you have brought together a pretty impressive stable of running backs. We talked with Coach Scott about the quartet. You had to go down to a trio last week with Darian out, but this is a group that seems to work well together. Everybody seems to understand their roles.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, obviously the four you're talking about have done a great job for us with, Mangum and Batee and Kelly. And then, like you said, Felix obviously was short with him. And not only those two guys, the other two guys we have, Yesias Young, I know everybody got to see him the FAMU game. And then even Mikey Hamilton, he's a big, strong dude, 195 pounds and quick twitched. Obviously got him in the spring halfway through, and he had to learn what to do. But, man, he's an impressive guy too. And so really love all my guys, and they really have kind of shown up to play. Been very pleased with just kind of their work ethic and what they bring to the table.
So Jaren Mangham has 7 rushing touchdowns. He's 5th in the country. Had a very good game at BYU. And as Coach Scott mentioned earlier in the show, he started out as maybe your 4th running back going into the opener. He's worked himself into this position. What have you seen from him as he's worked into this primetime spot?
Yeah, and really what I try to tell those guys is like you said, you kind of said he kind of started out as my 4th. I kind of don't look at it that way. I really look at it as kind of like a 1A, 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 1B, 1C, 1D almost. Like it's just so very close because they all had very, very competitive fall camps and very competitive, and they all have very good strengths. But, man, he's just really what we've expected. Obviously didn't play last year some of the time, and so when he got here for us in the summer, just getting his feet under him, his conditioning, and maybe came in a tad bit heavier than we wanted, but did a great job of getting his legs under him. And, man, he runs behind his pads. He's a dirty runner, but he's actually got a lot quicker feet than people would think for a big guy that's 225 pounds. And so very pleased with just kind of how he's progressed, with how physical he's being, and just really his vision, too, in between and outside the tackles.
Late in the game at BYU and the altitude, and guys have been out there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and number of plays and working hard. And in comes Kelly Joyner with fresh legs. And I can only imagine what the BYU defenders were thinking about a guy that fast, first of all. Second of all, a guy that's been waiting all night to start running. He was just electric in the opportunities that he had. He's a guy that probably had more touches per game in the past than he's had this year. But every time you call on him, he's ready.
Yeah, and Kelly, man, he's one of the leaders that I look at on our team. Had a great spring and really had an awesome summer. Missed a little bit of time in camp, but we got him back. And he's just, like you said, just waited for his opportunity, and that's what I kind of tell those guys. At any moment you might be called on, and he came in and he played fast. I mean, he got a good run where I told him I owed him one because, as us coaches, we always try to get everybody accounted for. And, one of his runs, we did not have a guy accounted for, but he made a miss. And those are always the one that makes me happy when he can kind of make me look good, make me look like a good coach. But you're exactly right. Came in there playing fast, hit it, very decisive. And, he's one of the fastest guys on our team. We do all the catapult stuff and kind of track how fast and explosiveness and stuff. And he's a guy that really, since he's came back to us, what you said, it always looks like he has fresh legs because he can hit it. When he gets in some space, he can make things happen.
You are the running backs coach. You're also the run game coordinator. So you're in this noisy den. You do a pretty good job in the running game. You have no false starts, no penalties of any measure. Just talk about the execution of your running game, and especially in a place like that.
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to really just Coach Weiss and Coach Mogridge, obviously the O-line coach, man, that we all kind of collectively work together. And Coach Mogridge, he really has those 5 offensive linemen targeted the right way. I mean, it obviously starts up front with Brad Cecil, and he gets us where we need to be. And obviously that center, like you mentioned, no false starts, and kind of that center QB exchange from the shotgun, just getting targeted, getting everybody where they need to be, communication. And then, like you said, if those guys cover them up, we kind of do the rest. So really, really proud of just kind kind of how those O-linemen are playing. And then, like I said, Coach Weiss does a really good job of putting a big emphasis on the run game. We walk it, we talk it. We're, every Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're getting extra reps at it. And so it's nice to be able to see that translate to game day, because when you got a veteran center like that, he kind of keeps everybody in the right direction. So very proud of those guys for keeping us on the same page.
Cam Aiken is with us, Bulls running back coach. Tell us a little bit about your journey to USF. You're a Clemson guy. You go well back with Coach Scott. How did it come about that you came to USF?
Yeah, so I kind of chuckled when I was asked to come do the radio show, because I was actually going to go into radio early on in my college days. I was going to go into some sports media.
You made a really good career choice.
I appreciate that. But, I was actually a manager at Clemson University, and there's a guy named Dabo Sweeney who got the head coaching job. He was an interim at the time, and he opened practice, and I saw practice, and like I said, ended up becoming a manager. And lo and behold, the guy I worked for was a guy named Jeff Scott. He was the receivers coach, and kind of got that relationship. And then really my senior year, I'd done a bunch of internships with media, but I'd been involved with the football program, kind of seen Coach Sweeney and some of the things, and always had loved football kind of growing up, and played in high school. Wasn't probably as talented enough to play in college, but, I just really felt a calling that's what I needed to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it, and ended up, a guy named Chad Morris came in that year. Coach Sweeney made a change and ran this new spread offense that, was a spread offense, but they put a lot of emphasis on running the ball. And that was kind of, for me, what I like to do. And I ended up staying around and was able to get a volunteer assistant job. And really the rest kind of history. It was just kind of right place, right time, able to learn. Studied under coach for 3 years. Went to the University of Alabama, Birmingham as a graduate assistant in 2014. And then I was fortunate enough to go back to Clemson in 2015 as a graduate assistant, and then from then on out, been able to just kind of move my way up and make relationships, learn, and again, just very, very blessed to be around a lot of good people and good coaches the last 10 to 11 years.
So get back to Jaren Mangum. Some people may wonder, how does a kid from Detroit who played at Colorado end up at USF? Yeah. Come to find out, we're all connected in some way or another, but he did some camping at Clemson back in the day. He remembered you, remembered Jeff Scott. Just talk about how circumstances conspired to get Jaren Mangham to this campus.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. When Coach called me in January, and we kind of started discussing potentially joining the staff, and then I accepted, obviously. He told me we were recruiting this kid named Jaren Mangum. I said, oh, yeah, I know Jaren Mangum, know him really well. And that was just one of those deals where at Clemson we started in the Southeast, but we kind of did some nationally recruiting, and he was one of those guys that came through the camp circuit, and I was obviously working with the running backs at that time. Really, my job was to really filter through everyone and then get the names to Coach Elliott, who was the running backs coach at Clemson, to let him see who he needed to see. And Jaren was one of those guys, man, ultra-talented guy, big back, like you guys see today, great vision, good speed, state champion in high school. And so he was one of those guys we targeted, and ended up coming to the camp circuit, and he had a lot of interest coming out of high school. But definitely just kind of built a relationship with him and his dad. His dad's a great guy, Jesse. Got to know both of them back at Clemson, and then ended up just didn't kind of work out, and he went to Colorado, had a good relationship there. But when I got, when Coach approached me about taking this job, and that name was a very familiar one. And then Coach DePrada, obviously, was at Colorado, our special teams coordinator, had a good relationship with Jaren, and he was really involved in the recruiting process. So I got to give Coach DePrada some props and kind of getting us in and just being a voice that was familiar with Jaren, and then the rest was kind of Coach Scott as well, just that comfort level and selling them what South Florida has to offer. So very, very pleased to get him.
Has the perception of transfers changed over the years? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Somebody transferred, it's an unusual situation. There must be something going on. Now you see great kids like Mangum just looking for a place to play, looking for a different situation. It feels like a much different situation and set of circumstances now when a player decides to transfer.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, what we talk about is identifying the right people to bring in the program. That's first and foremost. There are a lot of good players, especially in this state and then in this region of the country, but we try to find good players and good people. And so to answer your question, I think there was maybe a stigma, 5-10 years ago that if a guy's transferring, just like you said, it was hard to transfer, right? Maybe it was hard. Now I think that, guys are more willing to transfer because of this thing called the portal. Guys will jump into it, and every situation is different. It's our job to really research why are they jumping in the portal, the timing, to really try to reach out to as many people as we know to find out, what kind of worker is this kid? Does he love football? Is there red flags, right? And the good news for us is not only do we have Coach DeParada, who kind of knew Jaren at Colorado, we knew a lot of people on their staff. Multiple people on our staff knew people on their staff. I know people from my recruiting department. I knew a guy who I'd worked with at University of Alabama Birmingham that was at Colorado. Coach Scott had known multiple people, and so it helps out to be able to kind of, obviously, number one, call those people, and then number two, start building the relationship with the player himself. And you want to, and that's what it comes down to, relationships. You want to talk to him over the phone, Skype him, all those kind of different things, FaceTime, all those different kind of things, and normally you can get a feel for what kind of person it is. And with Jaren, man, he's a great kid, obviously, very, very intelligent, very smart, really lucky to be able to coach him, and all my guys are. That's kind of one thing I tell them is sometimes when you take a new job, you don't really get to choose who comes in your room, and I've been pleasantly surprised with just the guys that I have. They're all very solid individuals. They do well in the community. They do well in the classroom, and really makes it easy from my standpoint to be able to teach them because they want to learn, and that's always big for a coach, just guys that are willing and that are coachable.
When you have a quarterback as mobile as Timmy McClain and he holds the ball out for running back to get it and can always pull it back, how much does that option strengthen your running game to have a quarterback as mobile as he is?
Oh, tremendously. We always talk about trying to block everybody, like I said, but if you can read a guy and you can have a guy that is as electric as Timmy and that plays fast like Timmy does, it makes the defense have to account for him. And so for the run game, that's when it kind of becomes our job to say, well, what are they taking away? What are their tendencies? Is this going to help us on the interior run game? Is this going to be a game where Timmy maybe gets to pull some and get outside? But no doubt, I mean, he as everybody kind of the world saw Saturday night, he's a threat with his legs, and that makes kind of my job a lot more easier, just as designing runs and things like that. When you have a guy who's willing and that electric with the ball in his hands. It's a good question.
Coach, thanks. Much appreciated.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Bulls running back coach Cam Aiken, stay with us. We'll have Jaren Mangum with us coming up on the USF Football Radio Show. Bulls and SMU Saturday in Dallas. Welcome back to the show. There's a lot of ways you can celebrate your birthday. Of course, the one we aspire to is to celebrate it on the USF Football Radio Show. Jaren Mangum, happy birthday.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you.
7 touchdowns in 4 games. It seems like this USF thing is working out okay. It's not easy to transfer, is it? We think about playing time and where do you fit in on the field, but it's moving across the country, it's academics, it's where am I going to live, what are my teammates going to be like. This is a big process. Was it difficult for you?
It was pretty difficult, just going through different transitions and everything like that, and losing a head coach, that's always a hard thing to do. So when Coach Mel Tucker left, it was on very short notice, so I just went through the season. And then also losing my grandmother, that was also another mental block and mental challenge that I had to go through. Also, I just thought that it would just be a best fit for me if I just got a fresh start and just found, to get my feet underneath myself again. And I felt like USF was a perfect place for me to be able to do that.
What gave you the comfort level, Jaren, to come here? Because some people might think he's from Detroit, played in Colorado. Mm-hmm. USF might not be the place people would pick. But what made you comfortable about coming here?
So what made me comfortable coming here was Coach Scott. As soon as I entered the portal, literally like 2 days later, he had reached out. Coach Prada reached out the first day. So I always had a relationship with Coach DePrada, and he just always kept that going. And then as time went on, me and Coach Scott, we built up our relationship that we already had whenever he was at Clemson. So they just kind of welcomed me with open arms, and I just felt like this was just a spot for me to be.
You joined a running back room where there was opportunity. I mean, there's talented guys all around you, but it seems like it was kind of a case where if you came in and did what you can do, you had a chance to succeed. Was that appealing to you?
Yes, it actually was. Obviously, I wanted to play and get on the field and do different things like that. And I feel like overall, our running back room, I feel like we're very deep. Like I said, plenty of times, I feel like whenever you put a different back on the field, I feel like each of them bring a different asset to the table, and I just feel like as an RB unit as a whole, I feel like we've been doing a good job.
So the game at Brigham Young, you scored 2 more touchdowns, a big part of the game plan all night, and this is a very, very noisy, intimidating atmosphere, but you look like you were having a great time out there. Just talk about how much you enjoy being in a game like that.
I love when the lights is on. I love big stages. I love performing on big stages also. I feel like big stages bring out the best in people, and I feel like that also drives a lot of competition. I feel like that's whenever the best competition is, whenever you're in atmospheres like that and places like that. I feel like those big moments that shows like the character and it shows like different leaderships and different things like that.
You join a program that's on its way up. You know, the last couple years, wins have been a little bit hard to come by. And I think the fan base and even the casual viewers can look at this team now and see some things starting to come together and some progress being made. What does it feel like being part of that process of getting this program to where it wants to be?
Just coming to work every day. That's really kind of the mindset. 2% better every day. I know that in our room, we hold everyone accountable. We're very hard on one another. So at the end of the day, we're just trying to get better as a whole unit, and it's gonna come around.
So when people saw you were coming here, I think the fans got really excited. Jaren Mangum, he's 6'2", 220, somewhere in that range, a big back. And that's how people refer to you, a big back. I know you can do more. You're not just a big back, a guy in the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
Can you be put in a box as a big back? And is that something you try to, tell people that, hey, I'm a big guy, but I can do other things, but just run over the goal line?
Yeah, so like I said, we have tons of different backs. So it's just been kind of like a roll-on process. BYU, I was able to get my feet under me a little bit, able to showcase some things, catching the ball out of the backfield and different things like that. But other than that, I mean, I'm just trying to still showcase all of my different assets that I bring to the table, whether it's outside zone, inside zone. I just want to be able to showcase what I can do as a running back and just show that I'm an every down back.
Coach talked a lot about these first 4 games, the non-conference schedule, about being a time when he was kind of figuring out lineups and depth charts, and part of that was the quarterback position. You've been on the field with some different guys, and especially after Saturday night now, it seems like Timmy is pretty well established. How much does that affect you as a running back when you don't have consistency at the quarterback spot? Now it appears that you probably will.
Um, when the ball is in Timmy's hands, like I always say, special things happen. So I'm proud of Timmy. I'm happy with where he's headed. He's got better every game. He's getting more consistent. He's getting the rhythm for himself. He's getting the flow of the game. So overall, I just feel like special things are going to happen with him in the backfield.
How much has getting in the end zone as often as you have so far, 7 touchdowns in 4 games, how much has that given you confidence? I know it's given the fans confidence in you, but how much does it help you getting into a new situation to have this early success?
So I was always confident in myself. I really didn't kind of lose confidence in myself. So I really kind of always pictured me doing this, but it's just refreshing to see it all pay off, the hard work and different things like that. And not only does it help me out, it also gives confidence to the O-line, because when they see, oh yeah, we're driving them, we're running the ball and doing things like that, it's helping their confidence also, because they're seeing that we're moving the ball, they're seeing the progress that we're making, and it's just like a spark plug, and it just gives a boost to the entire offense. So I'm pretty happy with how things are going.
Offensive line has really made some strides. What's your relationship with them like? Are those guys that you sought out when you first came here, knowing that they were going to be important to your success?
Yes, I look very deep into that. I've seen a lot of those guys are very experienced. And as you can see, they're just getting better each game. Everyone's getting better each game. So I'm just very excited to just see it all come together.
So you come from a powerful high school program, Detroit Cass Tech, and you come from a football family. Your father played at Bowling Green, was an all-MAC player. You have an older brother that played college football. You have a younger brother who's going to play college football. Just speak about being in that atmosphere, how much that has helped you to have not only a father but 2 brothers who are just immersed in this game.
Yeah, so to have 2 brothers, that's obviously you could tell the competition is out the roof. As they say, the younger one's always the best one. So I'm very excited to see what he does in his college career. But without them 2, I feel like I wouldn't be in the situation I am today, because they helped me become who I am. And also, like I said, my father, he still helps me to this day. Like, we landed back from BYU at 9 a.m. As soon as we landed, I talked with my pops, and like he just gave me tips and pointers, what I did, what he liked, what he didn't like, different things I could improve on, what I can't, what I did well in the game, what I didn't do well. So to have that in my ear, it just helps me like get better and get a greater knowledge of the game. So I'm very grateful to have them in my life.
Why number 0?
Just to be different. I wore number 1 really all my life, so that's really my sentimental number. But yeah, it was just a different, fresh start, I guess you could say. So I just chose 0.
So another thing that people have become made aware of is your cooking ability. And when guys go off to college, you know, guys especially got to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
You can't eat out all the time.
No, for
But
sure.
but you're not just putting a hamburger in a frying pan. You know how to actually cook. And I know your grandmother was instrumental in that. How important is that to you? How much do you enjoy doing it?
So like I said, I enjoy cooking. Whenever I had lost her, cooking helped me get through a lot of those different things. I would make the recipes, and it would just make me happy to just know that I can make it, and it kind of tastes like how hers was, but it was nowhere near as good as hers. But I mean, I tried my best. So yeah, cooking is just a big part of my life also, just because it's just something to do, something to relax. I could just sit back and just do it on my own time, my free time.
Jaren, thanks. Congratulations on your season. Thanks for taking time for us today.
Thank
On
you
your
so much.
birthday yet.
Thank you.
Have a good day. 7 touchdowns in 4 games. Jaren Mangum joining us. Stay with us. Bulls at SMU coming up. Joey and I are back to wrap it up after this on the USF Football Radio Show. Just got back from Utah, ready to go out to Texas. The Bulls and SMU Saturday afternoon. Joey Johnston in for Sam Barrington this week. And Joey, this is going to be a challenge. We watched a little bit of that SMU-TCU game on television from out in Provo last weekend. They have given up some points, has SMU, but boy, they've scored a lot of points. Their offense looks absolutely fearsome.
It does. Tanner Mordecai leads the country in touchdown passes. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks in not only this conference, but in any conference. So it's going to be a big challenge for USF's defense and USF's secondary to deal with Tanner Mordecai and all the offensive weapons they have.
It'll be interesting for us, and it will be interesting for Bulls fans. The game against Jim Leavitt, the defensive coordinator of SMU, probably doesn't matter too much to the players, obviously. It's a different time frame, but this is the moment we thought we would have in Boca Raton last year when Coach was on the FAU staff. That game ultimately was not played, but here it is coming up this weekend, and it is going to be an interesting feeling. It's the first time it's happened.
Yeah, and it's enhanced even more by this season we're in, the 25th anniversary, where we're sort of always looking back and getting nostalgic feelings about how this program started. And the way this program started was very unusual, and there aren't many people that could have done it like Jim Leavitt did, to have a whole season of just practices and to start this thing from scratch and get it to grow as fast and as it did. So what Jim Leavitt did here is history. To some people it's ancient history, but it is definitely history, and it's something worth recognizing. So I know he's focused on SMU, he's focused on winning the game, but I think it's proper to pay some homage to what came before us here and what he did for this program.
Non-conference season is over. Bulls are 1-3. I think a whole lot of people could have looked at that schedule and predicted 1-3 at this point. But as they head into conference play, granted with a very tough first task in the conference, it feels like it's on the upswing. We're seeing some things that give you a good feeling about future games.
Yeah, I think what Jeff Scott said earlier really resonates with me is how you feel coming out of it. You can be 1-3 against this schedule and be shell-shocked, and your confidence gone. But this is not the case here. This is a team with confidence and belief in what's going to happen. So they're coming out of this in a great way, with a lot of a great experience. And yeah, they would have liked to have won a game or two in here, but you have to be realistic about it and know that you grew through this experience, and I think it gives you a ton of belief and confidence heading into the conference season.
All right, Joey, thank you. We have the open week coming up. No show next week. We're back here in 2 weeks and look forward to visiting with you from Dallas for the Bulls and SMU this weekend. That's it for our show today on the USF Football Radio Show.